This thing, I don't understand why this isn't fucking working. This is just not working at all. Piece of shit. Ugh. Wait, can you guys see me? Oh, okay. All right, I don't know why it's doing that. There was a rant Friday. No, I was updating Windows, and then when I reopened it, OBS wasn't working. So, yeah, I know there's no background. That's just because I don't have one open. I can open one. What's a background that I could use here? Just put charts behind my head. People like charts. Boom, charts. Hello, Han. No green screen. Only you. Piles of money's always good. They're my favorite. Hey, everyone. Tell us more about Yahoo finance numbers. See, this is exciting, sort of, right? Because, ooh, I can use Epic. Even though all theories surrounding the Yahoo's numbers are clearly absolute bullshit, I'm still stoked about it. The level of hopium is great. I'm definitely all about it. But there is something curious that bears like further investigation, right? And that like Yahoo misreported numbers. Hold on. So Yahoo misreports the float yesterday as like whatever it was, 240 something million, right? And then yesterday also Fidelity reports 3.6 million additional shares to borrow. Then WeBull increases its float by 2 million. And so these kind of data anomalies are really common when shares are released, right? As no one, like, the sources for the float information change all over the place. I'm doing well. Thank you, Bradastock. And good morning to everybody who's just coming in here. Where's Dave? It's a glitch. Lauer been to stomp out any hype. That's the problem is Dave hasn't come around to stomp the hype out on this one. But essentially, like, we're seeing multiple data points that are misreporting, and that I feel is interesting. There are like mechanisms with some of the things I think that are happening that could potentially dump FTDs onto the market. And so, I mean, that's something I'm looking into currently. What's up, Eric? Both Erics. How many Erics do we have now? Are you guys starting a thing? See, the total share amount went up too. Yeah. Dropped the fake short percentage. I mean, what if I were to tell you guys that the reported short interest isn't incorrect? It's just that the shorts aren't reported. Is that sensational? I don't know. I don't think so. I think everyone pretty much knows that at this point. Dr. K, FTDs being dumped on the market. Big, big piles of FTDs. FIDs. Fitted? I don't really know. There's no phonetical way to say FTD. $3 billion SI reported. Well, say they were to have hidden these derivatives, right? Hidden the FTDs in these derivatives, whatever the derivatives may be. Pick a derivative. I mean, it's like a teenager hiding marijuana in their bedroom, right? It's just like they'll shove it anywhere where they think their parents won't find it. So the derivative, I don't think really matters. I mean, there are derivatives that are more beneficial than others, but in essence, the idea is that you take. I wonder if it's too soon to talk about this. Hold on. No. I'll just take questions. Do it. No, we'll never know the real SI. Even if someone ever figures it out, we'll never find it out. God, I hate you sometimes. Okay, but if I tell you, then you're gonna tell other people. Then it's gonna pick up steam, and then Krian's gonna write a DD about it, and then everyone's gonna be going ape shit, and it's still something I'm not even sure is right yet. So if I go too deep into it, then I could be potentially be like not telling the truth, right? Which is gonna create hype and FOMO, and then people are gonna be disappointed, and I don't want to be, Warden. What is the conclusion of the statement you just started? You're not wrong, Smoxfox. Okay, I can. I mean, it's still wrong if you frame it as speculation. Nothing has created more misinformation in these communities than the idea of possible DD. Like the Glass Castle horseshit that I read last night. Do it as a 10,000 member celebration. I think I could make it vague enough. I'm just trying to think. Essentially, the essence, I guess, is these derivatives come due, and these FTDs that they've hidden spill out onto the marketplace, and they kind of have to scramble and pick them all up to roll them over again. And this isn't the continuous short position, right? So there's two. Ah, son of a bitch. there's two like short positions, right? There's the old one, which is at like $2, and then there's the new one, which is, you know, around 180. 162 to 180. Same as ours, right? This gets covered in T plus 69. That's kind of what that theory shows. This is hidden. This one is much larger, the old. And so essentially when these derivatives that they've hidden these this old short position in come due, they have to scramble and, you know, rebalance the position and then stuff it back away. In essence, covering over time, but covering very, very little every time, as most of it gets packed back away. So you have this price suppression and this long-term short position, right? And there's a story behind that, which is interesting. But that's the essence of what we're expecting to happen in this coming week. That and a market crash, probably. Watch that Lucy Comisar, Robert Shapiro AMA. It's relevant. Oh, I'll check that out. I haven't seen that yet. I mean, what do you want to talk about? Glass castles? It's a cool idea, but there's zero fucking evidence of it. It's sensationalized and written in order to hype people up. That doesn't necessarily mean can kicking for MOASS. Because on the other side of that, the shorts are being squeezed, right? Retail's constantly buying. And they're creating this illiquidity that when the shorts cover, the price spikes become like stronger and stronger on less volume. So if it doesn't pan out this week, right, and we go another round, the illiquidity could reach a point where there's almost no shares trading by the next time this comes up, right? I mean, if we look at the rate at which our volume has declined over time, let's zoom out here. Is there a way I can change this? Settings? Failure volume, visibility. I think we can. Maybe it's better on like the weekly. That's probably easier. 1 second. Oh, that's much better. So if you look at this comparison, right? Since January, our volume has done nothing but go down, right? But yet our price has continued upward. So this will reach like almost like like there's like a point of no return, right? eventually one, like the bid ask spread, and this is kind of what you're seeing here is the bid ask spread widening. Eventually it will get so wide that like any buying at all is just going to rocket the price. Critical mass. Yeah, I guess so, except it's the opposite of that because the if the mass or the volume, it's disappearing. An inception point, if you will. Singularity. Yeah, singularity works. I think that's the word I wanted to use originally, but now I can't remember. I think I'm starting to realize when the short positions come due. But I don't know exactly, and there's so many moving parts that it's not just as simple as like, oh, this one's going to come due this day and this one's going to come due this day. And any one of those, like, we don't know the size of the position in each derivative, right? And so there's no way to speculate on when one could like fall out of that cycle, right? So if something falls out, everything shifts, and then we wouldn't know which one fell out because we don't know which ones create the most volume. But essentially, if this trend that we're on now continues, I mean, eventually we'll break 350 anyway, right? We'll break 960, we'll break 2100, and like it would just keep going. And as we know, the shorts can only sustain so much margin. So once you start getting into those numbers, it's just the time could be, you know, maybe longer than people initially expected. Like, I know everyone was in this to get rich quick, but it could also just happen this week. That's kind of the trickiest part about it, is it can still just happen any day. Do you have a margin account to do some of your option strategies? I have a margin account with Schwab that's not funded. I don't really use it anymore. I pulled the funds out of it like a little while back, but I can always put money into it if there's something that like a more complex option strategy that I need to use. I don't use complex strategies all that often. I find they're mostly a waste of time for the type of trading I do personally. Any thoughts on the SPY? I don't know if they can prop it up another week. The bearish divergence is strong, but we'll see in pre-market on Monday if they're able to run it back up. Yeah, the spikes not only become more violent, the floor from which they start becomes exponentially higher. So whether we have moass or slow ass, it's inevitable as long as the status quo doesn't change. I mean, BBKC is a pretty good one. We also have a bounce after earnings on the long-term trend. So from a technical standpoint, it looks good. BBKC is, I mean, you can see it right here, absolutely ready to blow. Oh, it's bad for the shorts for no shares trading. The shorts need volume. But we know this, right? And then they can't get it because when they create volume with synthetics, retail buys it all up slowly, but we buy it all up, which forces them to create more synthetics, which is it's an unending cycle of bullshit. Beating me to the punch. Sorry. Why not hold a call to the peak? Is it, okay, so there's a couple disadvantages of holding your call all the way up to the peak, right? One, at the peak, the IV will be very high, so you'll have to sell your call less than its market value. It also forces you to sell 100 shares at once, which for some people that's irrelevant, right? But for others, if you're an XX holder and you have like say 2 options representing another 200 shares, it's really disadvantageous to sell what is essentially the majority of your position all at once, right? Because you would ideally want to break up those 200 X shares into multiple exits, right? So also exercising the option puts additional pressure on the squeeze, as they are most likely going to be unhedged and they will have to find another 100 shares to satisfy your contract while the squeeze is occurring. Who was the first Dan? How did this virus get out of control? The first Dan was Daniel Taylor, currently known as Daniel Taylor, Oracle of the Dans. He began the Dans. That's all. So if the short hedge funds manage to stuff their spaghetti back in their pockets, very good descriptor. We'll have to wait till December and suffer through low volume. Fun. Not necessarily. T plus 69 can, so if the volume gets too low between now and the next quarter, right? If this volume gets too low down here and dies off, then T plus 69 can trigger it. As the lower the volume gets, the more FTDs they rack up from price suppression. So at some point, if there's a break in their price suppression between now and December, which is the next quarter, the price could just spike out of nowhere. We saw something similar happen in January, right? January was not a quarterly event. Event Horizon. I might have. I kind of thought of Event Horizon, but also no. I think Singularity is a better. Oh man, I'm way behind. I've gotten everybody way too jacked up for the weekend. Stock Singularity. This movie is going to be so good. Going back to your they're starving analogy, they'll run out of food and have no choice but to buy ours. Essentially. Am I seeing another massive BBKC indicator? Yeah, this is on the weekly. Probably more accurate, but can drag on far longer. There's a lot of different colors in the Glass Castle DD. I think I've lost my place. Do you believe MM are properly hedging in the money options? You think it's because they just can't? I mean, they never do like properly hedge, right? They still hedge, based on a risk management model. So they take on as much risk as they feasibly can in order to not hedge. But I mean, they still hedge, right? Otherwise, their margin would just blow up. If the price went up like $50 again, their margin would just explode. So they wouldn't take that level of risk. So they do hedge. They just hedge a little less. What odds would you give this week? Still in the 60 to 70%. I'm super bullish on this week. Like more bullish than I've been since like the day before the share offering. How do you hide derivatives? Oh man, that's a whole nother conversation, but there are ways. That scares me, Dominic. Um, when the market crash happens, if it happens, soon, the the GameStop could drop heavily, sub 100 even. Um, if people hold and only institutions bail, then it's fine, right? But if they don't, ugh. It's scary. It's maybe the only real big prisoner's dilemma is, can apes hold a dip that drastic? I think they can. Some of you have already been through it. Are you more pumped for this week than you were last weekend? Yeah. We also have the SLD requirements that come out on the 15th. There's a lot of shit going on this week. You had me at exponential floor. You're looking at it. This is BBKC on the weekly. This is theoretically the squeeze window. Hold on for my... What's the play for the shorts? I mean, they did the correct thing yesterday in having us close right around max pain. That was their best bet. I think we run pre-market Monday personally, but we'll see how that plays out. They definitely were able to shave a chunk of the ramp off, but not enough. I mean, you have to know that, like, if we know some of the things that we do, people with access to more dedicated teams and better data definitely know as well, right? That's why I said that, like, MOAS is inevitable as long as the status quo doesn't change. If people start selling, and this is why, you know, I pushed so hard over last weekend to, you know, tell people, like, buy and hold is actually the way, because if no one sells, and people don't start dumping shares, then this is inevitable. This will squeeze like nothing has ever squeezed before. Have you noticed that the time between the spike corrections or dip bounce are shortening? I haven't. They seem to all occur on like the 19th of the month. You'd be streaming your options moves next week. I mean, it depends on what happens, but yeah, I mean, I have, I have like one contract of almost all my strikes in WeBull for like representation, and I usually sell those last. Um, you know, if I'm moving out of them, so that like there's transparency in what I'm doing. However, I do not suggest that you guys follow, especially the options play I'm doing right now, because it is super high risk and should definitely not be undertaken by those who do not have a lot of options experience. Because there may be very narrow windows for me to exit certain parts of it. But I have 80 contracts now going into this, I think. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is, at least. Would a negative beta not play into effect during a crash? It could, but we don't know when the delay for that is going to kick in. So algorithms are going to scour the market for stocks and assets with negative beta and buy into them in the event of a market crash. But we just don't know the timing on that, right? We don't know at what point GameStop looks super attractive. And they may be analyzing negative beta historically, but they may be analyzing it that day. I don't know. I've never really done like market wide loss prevention like that. It's not really my area of expertise. I know a little bit about it, enough to like hedge my own positions, but I'm literally going to throw all my money at it if it goes to 40. I mean, I would probably do the same. This is live, Deadwood. Well, that's the thing, Muhammad, is we could see institutions bail in a market crash. I don't think the ETFs were pretty safe on, but the smaller, all the smaller funds could bail. Like they'll just be liquidating everything they can liquidate, right? And that could lead to a drop. I don't think apes will sell, but it could definitely, we could see a drop. We may not. Our floor is shockingly solid. I'm just buying my way out of the money calls. Dangerous Dan, welcome back from the hurricane, man. Glad you got out okay, dude. Isn't it true if you can do options that having retail buy and hold is greater for the options players? I mean, that's questionable. I mean, the risk of the options really is the timing, because this could take off at any moment from here on out, right? Um, and so I feel like the options players have a higher chance of getting burned than buy and hold, because it either takes off and they were too late to the party, or they've paid for a shitload of theta to be part of the party. 80 contracts doing a warden, but you actually know what you're doing. Bullish. Well, so I had like 40 contracts on the 24th, and I just rolled all of those up and out. My initial investment wasn't very much. Pushing the message to hold is great for options players. I mean, pushing the message to hold is great for everybody, regardless of if you're playing options or you're not. I mean, that's been happening all along, though, right? I mean, we've had these big banks and long hedge funds profiting off of the floor that retail has held. While it doesn't really affect the underlying, it definitely maximizes their profits to a greater extent than ours. But that's also because they have the capital to deploy with which to do that, right? So, like retail, we don't really have the option to play options at that level, right? Like we can't buy millions of contracts like they can, or thousands or hundreds of thousands. Like it's just, for us, it's like, we either buy and hold or we miss out on the opportunity. Which is unfortunate, but that's just the way it is, right? I mean, that's the advantage of having more capital in a capital market. Thank you for the option strat pointer. This is a great tool. I'm using it to plan some stop limits under these contracts so I don't get reamed if it turns the wrong way. Nice. I'm late, so I probably missed it. Was there the Yahoo float number just a glitch? You can rewind the stream and watch it on a faster speed until you catch up. This is a man to boy. But yeah, we talked about that. If no, they won't get enough apes to sell. Are they not better off jumping the price to 1,000 as fast as possible so retail doesn't buy in way more shares? Possibly, but that puts them, like jumping the price that hard would put them at risk for getting margin called. So the idea that they can like elevate the price and hold the floor it's not a very strong theory, because if they push it up too high, they're going to just create FOMO. And that's going to push it past any number that they can control. So we've seen traditionally that it appears that they cover into the rollover date, but they didn't this time. And so I don't know if they will cover slowly or cover fast. Covering fast is advantageous for them because it spikes IV and prevents the ramp from being built ahead of them as they cover. If they cover slowly and IV stays steady, then, the gamma ramp just is going to become that much stronger on the road in front of them, right? Will you keep streaming if this goes another round to December? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my only real obligation is school, and that's in January, and I'm still unsure if I'm gonna commit to that or not. Or if I do, I'll probably do it like in evening classes. We are still very much in a high probability phase. As a matter of fact, I think we're entering a high probability phase that we may not leave until it happens. Board gamer. Supplemental liquidity deposits at EQ are on the 15th. They have to deposit money for their margin, essentially. That's the easy explanation of it. So it's kind of a day where margin's a little weak, or weakens. There'll be another one of those days on October 1st, when the banks have to have, um, like the major banks all have to have $1 trillion on hand to support their margin because they failed the Fed's liquidity test. So that'll be another date that's kind of intriguing. Nothing may happen with GameStop. It may have nothing to do with us, but you can be as prepared as you want to be, the real Slim Pickle. And I hope apes are, and yes, we expect it, but that doesn't change the fear. The psychology of a stock tanking like that will play out the way it does basically every time, regardless of the motto behind it, or the ideologies. Some will hold, some will not. Watching your account burn away is never easy. Yeah, I know about China's real estate bubble. The Everguard, but it looks like the CCP is just gonna back their bonds, so they're not gonna let it blow up yet. China is far less likely to crash than the U.S. markets because of the speed at which their government can patch things up. Become a teacher? I'd rather not. I'm seeing a quarterly pattern with a spike followed by a massive spike. First 225, 310, 525, 69, 824. Missing last Thursday or Friday. Is this what you've been discussing? Yes. It's pretty obvious, right? Like, I mean, I feel like we've all kind of seen it on the charts for a while now. Forgot to like GameStop and zoom out. One, two. Ignore the vertical lines because they're wrong, but looking at year-to-date percent gains on a stock be a viable way to identify stocks that are currently short squeezing? Could be, but I don't think the guarantee is there with any of the other stocks. Spurt a little bit, but Everything else, I don't really see the potential. Can you explain the implication of quad witching? If too long, understandable. I mean, quad witching is the day in which all the derivatives markets expire. So it tends, that week leading into it tends to be far more volatile than normal. That's about it. It's like options, futures, commodities, all of those. Just they all expire on the same day. Every quarter, there's a quad witching. It's not that big of a deal. And we've definitely been through quad witching hype before with GameStop where nothing happened. I think Ryan Code's best bet's to just stay the fuck out of it. Capote. Can you list your book recommendations like you did yesterday? I can actually write them down today or replay this shorter stream. Yeah, it was Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets by John J. What the fuck is his last name? Murphy. And then Securities Analysis by Graham and Dodd, and The Intelligent Investor by Graham. Those are fundamental analysis books. And then the other one is a technical analysis book. Excellent starter material. How do you think about the implementation of the new OSHA guidelines could impact the market? I know enough people that would hate the new rules regarding vaccination and testing. I don't think it'll impact the market that much. I don't, more into why you think it'll impact the market, if you could, Cool Daddy. So I haven't really been paying attention to it. 1 trillion infrastructure bill passing the House by the 27th. Prop up the SPY a bit longer. It could. So retail FOMO caused the January sneeze, or do you think it was all Archegos? I don't think Archegos was involved with GameStop at all. Is Honey Buckets good investment? I don't know. Can you put the order book in green red mode? Oh, I didn't know it had one. Yeah, I could try doing that. Can you repeat everything? Can't you buy? I mean, those aren't leaps, but yeah, you can buy contracts that expire after quad witching. Leaps are far out. I mean, different sources will tell you different things, but at least 6 months to a year is like a leap, or at least past the current quarter, like the coming quarter, right? So like leaps would be defined as anything from like January 2022 onward. Brewery's not usually wrong. I don't know how to read, so I paid for Udemy lecture courses. Tracks with you so far, but no recommendation yet. Lots of people in the know exiting their massive positions in Tesla, ARK, etc. I mean, yeah, people in the know will. They'll get out first. That's why it always falls onto like the upper middle and lower class, because everyone else gets out in time. Is there any chance they want to wait till Friday so Theta eats at the options more? The issue with that is if they have to cover the volume I expect, they won't have time to do it on Friday. I don't have a PhD. I don't think I'd ever want to spend that. The rules are a light version of what Europe has been doing. I personally think US people will either get fired for not following the guidelines or quit due to personal choice. Okay. I mean, I guess it would affect the job market a little bit, but furthermore, I can also see widespread protests and possible civil unrest as a result of pushback. Maybe. So what is this? Like people have to get vaccinated? Is that what you're saying? I feel like the group opposed is far smaller than people think. It's not gonna like start a civil war. So forced liquidations means computer buying. Then do you think of the peak, it will be agency people trading? I mean, they're still going to use algorithms to purchase, but they're going to be like far more manually in control of them at that point in order to, lose as little money as possible. Can you explain the T plus 69 theory in a smooth brain edition? Essentially, they need a certain amount of volume every day to keep pushing their FTDs forward. If they don't get that, then the FTDs start to pile up. The old guy. I was digging through a comment on Reddit about weird increases in the float on Yahoo Finance. Okay, guys, make sure you tag me if you have a question, just for anybody new, so I can see it. As far as I can tell, there is no source on their volume data. BAT's Morningstar system is considered a reputable source, but I'm pretty sure that their data for GameStop comes from ICE, who owns the data for NYSE. But yeah, there's either way, there's no way of telling which source it's from. It's probably ICE because you can look at BATS and BATS is showing a different number. ICE you have to pay to see. It's quite expensive. It's vaccination or weekly testing? Okay. There'll be protests, but they won't be aired on TV. So Brit friend of mine said to me once, "So Yanks, you have no idea what it's like to live your life knowing even if you don't have a job for a while, you'll still be okay, do you?" true. I mean, dig away. I don't know if there's going to be much to find beyond what's already been found. And now people are just like photoshopping shit and posting it on Reddit, so it's just like easily confirmable things. I got messaged a bunch this morning. Oh, damage reduction. Thank you so much for becoming a Long Johnson, dude. Yeah, we talked about the Yahoo flow. If you go back to the beginning of the video and you can watch it back on like 2x speed and catch up with us. If you're able to get him on the phone with you, don't let him go. You can go to the broker's office and try to work in person. I don't know how many like Fidelity offices have a trading desk available, but I'm sure some do. Bigger ones, maybe in like more metropolitan areas. You probably have to fight your way through a bunch of other apes. Is that why we've seen an increase in volume in the past couple of weeks? Yeah. Don't worry about my musings. All right. A huge number of people who vocally oppose the vaccines have already gotten it too. It's weird, but for some reason, there's gain in lying about not getting it when you have. Probably. I don't understand how vaccinations became political in the first place. It's fucking stupid, but what are you gonna do? How will you hedge if this week turns out to be nothing? I mean, I'll lose my initial $10,000 investment. I guess I won't. I mean, I made most of that back on the puts that I sold for earnings. So, I mean, I'll break positive, but I'll lose like the profits from that position essentially. I don't know. I've never sold stock over the phone before, so I really couldn't Red Ranger. I don't really get delta hedge. I get the concept, but if I go delta neutral to limit downside, then my position won't overall move, right? Yeah. They're not supposed to influence movement in the market, Goya. They are a market maker. They're supposed to be neutral. They're not supposed to have a position, right, on the price. They do, because it's advantageous to them, but they shouldn't. 2 plus 69 is sort of like share laundering. Need legit volume to layer the FTDs. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I expect a move early in the week, damage reduction. Why are you concerned with 250 this week? Because the long term trend is higher. If I have to draw it again because I accidentally deleted my original GameStop chart that had all my stuff on it. But here, let me see if I can get you a good representation of this long term trend. Nope, wait, that's the wrong one. So yeah, we broke through that day here. Um and then we've been on a downtrend since. But we bounced off of the low right after earnings. And so we have a pretty good shot of testing that again. Um, Breaking above that's going to be really important. And currently, for this week, that trend line's sitting around, oh, like just a little over 250. This is a little high, actually, but I think it needs to be there. But this particular indicator is kind of a bitch to use. So that's kind of where we're sitting on that. Here's my question. If the shorts don't have to be reported to any accurate degree, what's stopping players deep in this from just estimating short interest completely wrong and pushing that out? I mean, the estimates on short information are completely fucking off the wall. Like none of them are right. If that's what you're implying. And you have like things, data services like Ortex that kind of just fill in the gaps based on known data that completely display incorrect information. Yeah, if I didn't see a move by end of day Tuesday, I'd be rolling my options forward. I had whatever I have left in them, which isn't much. How long do you think the overcorrection in GME will go at the end of the MOAS? The overcorrection could go pretty steep. It'll bounce really hard though, as people will buy back in on the dip. So it won't be. I don't think it'll last very long. And then we'll probably have kind of a dead cat if like MOAS really happens, right? And like we go to the moon, then I think that there's going to be like subsequent squeezes, more like FOMO squeezes than anything else, but like dead cat bounce afterwards, probably big ones before the price settles at like a normal level. Any theories, concerns? No, not yet. Probability of testing 250 this week? No idea. It depends on if they cover or not. And then there's a case where they don't cover the expected volume from the futures rollover, and then if that happens, then we're looking at uh probably oh I don't know, T+2 I guess from Friday. So that would be September 21st. And then if nothing happens by September 21st or close of market Wednesday, I guess, the 22nd, then we're looking at probably another cycle. Which means that enough shares were released institutionally during the last run for them to float this out another quarter. The guy that said sell now and ask questions later was the most obvious sign I've seen that the MOAS thesis is on the right track. You're already a teacher? I am not. Don't accuse me of such things. I mean, like, totally nefariously wrong. Like, listen, junior researcher, Mr. VP of Operations wants you to email your friend at Yahoo Finance and tell him SI on GME is 7.8%. Got it? Oh, yeah, that's absolutely what occurs. Everyone's got like everyone's got like a buddy who works for some fucking journal or bullshit blog, and they call him up and tell him to spread news. Yeah, not covering it could definitely be MOAS, right? Because then it causes the whole thing to fail. I don't know yet, Cutter. My current focus is this cycle, and then if there is going to be another one, I will focus on that. Does it make sense to buy far out of the money puts now to capitalize on the post-moass drop, to just try and catch some of the IV gains on the way down? I mean, they have to have some extrinsic value in order to go up in price, no matter what the multiplier is. But yeah, I mean it's a play. People did it in January and made a lot of money. People bought like um $10 puts when we went up to like 100. People were buying like $10 puts on the other side. I think they thought they were going to print, but they made a lot of money off them. Ivy went crazy. I got burned 30K since the last run. Jesus, Bristo. Well, I want to say that, but I'm down like so much right now. No, the run a couple Tuesdays ago, which I told everybody about the weekend before and the day before and the day of, was the futures rollover. I tried to give everyone a big heads up, or as best I could. But yeah, that wasn't sorry, not futures. Quarterly options rollover date. I think I wrote about it in my DD that week. This is why you guys should read my DD. It's good stuff. Do you plan to roll to October expiries? Probably not. I probably just roll to like the 24th. I mean, I've assumed so much risk on the position already that it's just like I don't really give a shit at this point. Like, I'll make sure I'm as leveraged as I can be for as short a period of time as I can be, because the risk. I mean, I'm already assuming like 100% risk. But my initial position only cost me like 10 grand, and I made all that back on puts. So I'm not really out. Like, I don't have a net loss, but there's a loss in the opportunity from gains that I've had. I've got friends in Jimmy saying they believe in MOAS, but they'll sell in the 2 to 5K range because there's too many paper hands. And I'm like, what? I mean, when I hear people talk about that, I just tell them, like, if that's your mindset, just like sell what you need to cover your initial position, right? And then hold the rest and see what happens. Because those people are going to sell at those prices no matter what, right? You can't stop them. They don't believe in the thesis. That's that. Especially at this point, if they've been holding for a long time. Also, the day Guybrush joined us. That's true. But you rolled your calls up and out. No, all my calls are still for 917, Greg. So I had calls on 824, right? That I bought down here the previous Friday. I spent $10,000 on calls there for 40 contracts. Those printed super hard, obviously. And I rolled those up to like 60 contracts. Not 60K, 60 contracts. So I rolled those up and out. So I pushed the date out to the 17th and rolled the strikes up in order to increase the number of contracts I had. And then this week I bought 20 more contracts. So now I have 80. All for the 17th. If by the end of Tuesday nothing happens, I will eat the loss and roll out to the 24th, whatever appropriate strikes I can buy. But in case we get another cycle, do you believe that the low volume might become even lower as we've seen before, possibly making MOASS fire halfway through the cycle? Yes. I think at this point, if we were to go towards another cycle, MOASS could, because of the T plus 69, I think MOASS could actually happen at any time between now and then. Do you think they successfully covered everything for the futures last Thursday? No. I think Fidelity bought BlackRock shares, but we won't know until 13Fs come out. Based on previous volume in the cycles, they have not covered the futures yet, or whatever they need to cover. We need like another like 100 something million volume in the next week. I went from 4 160s on the 24th to 14 240 and 14 300 for the 17th. Yeah, it's sort of what I did, but mine's a little more broken up than that. Do you think T plus 69 happens next week? It's hard to say. It depends on our volume. T plus 69 it's a moving target. So as volume decreases, the likelihood of a T plus 69 covering happening increases. So the liquidity prevents them from rolling their FTDs forward, and they start to backpile, essentially like trying to put too much through a narrow pathway. £2 sausage in a £1 bag. I don't know. It's well, that jacks me so hard I need a smoke break. I understand you're right up on T plus 69. They short more, it happens earlier. Less volume, it happens earlier. Yeah. You got it. And they shorted a bunch after earnings, right? This is the T plus 2 Monday or Tuesday. T plus 2 from what, Nano? From this coming Friday? It's a Tuesday. Probably. They might not, though. It's hard to say at this point. I think a lot of the short positions on a lot of the other meme stocks have been mostly covered, or they've been able, because of the excess of liquidity those stocks have, they've been able to shift their position. See, if they tried to flood GameStop with shares in order to shift their position from short to long, what happens is that retail buys up those shares, and so they have to compete with retail every time they try to create liquidity. And that's, makes it impossible for them to like hop sides of the fence. I mean, I think their short position already makes that impossible, but it makes it even harder. Also, GameStop has one of the lowest free floats of all the meme stocks. How does it work? Kind of. If T plus 69 is really a thing, I mean, the 69 is kind of a tweak for memes. It's really T plus 42 trading days. But it is average. It does average out to T plus 69 calendar days. I don't anticipate a specific date on it because I don't run the model for it. But it varies. It moves. It moves based on how much volume we have. So the more volume that we get daily, the further out T plus 69 moves. The less volume, the closer it gets. So those like low liquidity, no volume days increase the rate at which we see the next T plus 69. I know it's not the easiest to understand. I think the more important thing to understand with it is that it's there, not it's not its like specific date. How do you calculate the elevated floor post September 21st if they were to repeat and short the price back down again? Well, where are they going to get the shares to short it back down again? I mean, you're looking at what I think the floor would just continue to be right here on this long-term trend, right? So if they were to short it back down again, I would imagine that we would just follow this trend until, out here in December. They might dip us below it, but, there's no share offering this time. So, like, the floor from back here should have continued on this upper trend line, right? And that would have given us the cup and handle we expected. But it didn't, right? Because they got the 5 million institutional shares. They got another, like 2 million from ETF rebalancings. I think, and then with BlackRock's sale, it's like 10 million shares were released in this time frame. So without those shares, this price suppression would not have been possible, and we would have followed this trend line. So this action here, this is due to the shares made available to the market, either people selling or institutions selling. And so if everyone buys and holds through this cycle, our floor should only continue upwards. At which point they go into the next covering cycle out here in December at 350. So the covering begins at 350, right? Which, essentially should be MOAS, because we know they can only sustain margin above that a little bit, if at all. And I guess the issue there would be that if T plus 69 triggers during one of this, we could spike sooner. Like before that, end date. Clip that. I missed something basic. Options and futures are different things on the same stock. Yes. Totally different derivatives. There's lots of derivatives and financial instruments besides options. You have swaps, you have CDOs. Should the next cycle start November or something? Around there. I have to look. Wouldn't them using those released shares to price suppress stop them being able to use them to cover futures? I don't think they used the released shares to suppress the price. I think through most of this period, they were using in the money options. In the money puts were the big player for this cycle. And they used those to drive the price down, and then that should have been net neutral, right? Because they drive the price down with the put, and then the market maker buys back the following Tuesday, and then it just goes back and forth, right? But because of the institutional selling, we actually ended up with a downtrend. So if there'd been no selling, we would have just traveled like straight across this into this cycle. Quad witching is just quad witching. It's just the date that the derivatives markets expire. There's really nothing to explain with that. Next future cycle starts 11/24. I mean, the next future cycle starts on 9/17. How do they announce it? It's like I think 10 days is what we found. If they want to announce a split. I don't know if they will or not. I wouldn't bank on that. Could the run back on Thursday have been them rolling at the lower price? No. I think that was buying, a little bit of buying, and a little bit of deleveraging puts. I think some institutions bought in on GameStop's not actually bad earnings. Is there any question we should be asking you? I got my broker number, my account 2FA, WeBull graphs ready, Fidelity active trader setting set, calling out sick game plan. What order do we need? Do you have an execution plan for your trades? I mean, that seems important. Like, what price points are you looking for? Cost basis. Like, if you've got your exit strategy figured out, then it sounds like you got everything you need. I mean, make sure you have your brokers. Like, make sure you familiarize yourself at least with the fast system if you're with Fidelity, or whatever your broker's like phone sales line is. Those don't usually go down. I missed the TFV interview. Do you have any expectations for inflation on the 14th? Higher? Yeah, you have to wait until the cash is settled, a user. It's annoying. But once you have the cash settled, then it's options are T+1 to settlement. So but yeah, unless you have a margin account, you have to wait until your funds settle. How's some of the other technical indicators been looking? MACD, RSI, Bollinger. I don't know how much those are going to play into this. I think MACD looks fine. Let's check it out. MACD is actually going into a bearish reversal, so we'll see how that plays out. But this could have been largely just from the dip, Friday, and like this could be a false signal like this, right? That leads into yet another uptrend. We have a lot of room to cover from the previous cycles. So there's a lot of room to the upside. So I think this could potentially be a false signal. But this is like the problem with all these oscillators is that they're trailing indicators, right? So they're only giving you historical data to work from. They don't predict the future in any way. They predict the probability of something happening in the future. Bollinger's out on the weekly look good. On the daily, fine. I would say our strongest technical indicator is this bounce off the long-term trend. If that continues. But we may see, another one. It's hard to say, but I don't think technical analysis is gonna predict this week's price action. At least not accurately, right? Because technical analysis doesn't really tell us about things like them coming in to buy a bunch of shares. Is Jimmy halted right now? You say that a lot about what price points are you looking for, but how are we supposed to know what to expect with crazy high numbers being thrown out all over the internet? I don't know. It's pure speculation no matter what anybody says. My opinion on the peak of MOAS is no more valid than anyone else's. That's why I just don't say anything, because there's nothing to say there, right? The technical indicators will indicate when peaks are occurring. If you follow those, whatever price that may be, those are probably the peaks. And then, with careful management of your exit, you can verify that, right? If you're not just dumping all your shares right when you think it peaked, then you're giving yourself time to verify that if that's the peak or not. And if it's not, and the price continues upwards, you haven't sold much or any of your position, right? The exit strategy already it protects you from the floor being too low, and it assists you in finding what the highest possible floor is. That's why I wrote it the way I did without price points. I know people hate that, but it's correct. Thoughts on the SPY puts for this week? Could print. I have a decently sized short position on the market currently, so I'm excited. They don't have to buy every share 5 times, right? They have to buy all the shares once. Greg M. They need to eliminate the synthetic shorts and then buy the float. I mean, but the technical indicators are going to indicate when you've hit a number you should be comfortable with, right? Because if you're following the hedging strategy properly, right, and you get a peak, and this peak isn't high enough, right, and you're setting your stop limit or you're acting as your own stop, and the stock continues upward, you've sold nothing into the next peak, right? And even if you do sell here, you've only sold a percentage of your total available shares. So you still have plenty more to ride the rest of it. Is the gamma crash on the SPY a real thing? No. Too much liquidity. Is there anything you would change about your exit strategy, DD? I've been over this before. The only thing I would change on it is that I would infer that the price can move up faster, because it could nowadays. Like that initial FOMO stage and the ascent, those could all happen much more quickly than I had initially anticipated because of the liquidity drying up. But that's it. Yeah, if you guys want to watch the spurt peak charting that I did with the stream, that's like a good example of like how I would be going through my exit on GameStop. Thanks, Han. This is my floor. That is the amount that I will never have to work again. I don't know if that's bad. Dragify. I mean, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing, right? Like, that's the thing about all this is you can't predict what it'll hit, and the exit strategy that I gave you guys protects you from selling too low, and it also protects you from being a bag holder. Is the best possible strategy that I could come up with. Unless you can come up with one better on your own. Not really, Purple Hulk. I've been through it too many times. If peaks form an inverted Elliott wave, will you get frosted tips? No. Will you be using a calculator or winging it, quickly determining your 2 to 5% stop limit? I mean, I could just do the math. Like, I don't need a calculator to do 2% or 5%. If you do need one, have one ready. Just remember that you can drop all the zeros so you can input faster. So like if the stock's trading at like 1.92 like or 1,920,320, right? On your calculator, you can just put 1.92. And you can just do 2% of that, and that'll give you like the lower number, the 5% of that. 5% is like $800,000 or $80,000 less. Are you making money off the dead cat bounce post-moass? I don't know if I'll care. Maybe. I might buy options or something, but I don't think I'll care. The price doesn't. For me, the price doesn't have to go that high for me to make obscene amounts of money. To be fair. Over like 50 grand, I basically will never have to work at anything forever. I have 7 different accounts to manage. Yeah, that's kind of the position I'm in, Ben, is I have so many accounts to manage that I couldn't possibly sell all of it at once if I wanted to. And then I'm exiting options before shares, and I have all kinds of shit going on. I love frosted tips, a user. Yeah, sure. Crack ass cracker. Once you're a multi-billionaire, what will you call your personal wallet? I mean, charity. If it hits 10 million, what can we expect your maiden space flight on your company's? When can we expect your maiden space flight on your company's rocket? Oh, within months. How many different brokers would be considered safe? I'm currently at 2. I mean, I've probably gone overboard, but most of it's just because I didn't want to transfer shit around. I'm sure 2 is fine. Yeah, that was for people using market orders. I mean, you can use whatever candlestick you feel most comfortable with. It actually doesn't matter, right? They don't display different information. They just display the information differently. Kitty's bear. Do Dillionaires and Pigeon Whales get a discount on the space flight? I don't know. You guys just assume that I'm not gonna like just change my identity and fucking disappear. I know SSR is worthless, but they bled us down pretty effectively yesterday. Were they shorting on upticks or was it the puts? There was like a 320,000 share block sale that had like 4% slippage. Someone dumped 320,000 shares yesterday. Like hard. It was a sale. It wasn't a short. Jesus. Hank and Ashi display different numbers versus regular on WeBull. They shouldn't. I may be able to help you get access to Austrian private banks. I'm pretty sure if I'm a billionaire, I won't have any problem with that. But thank you. I wonder if that was part of the 590K share discrepancy in the shares outstanding that showed up yesterday after close. What the F is slippage? Slippage is when you sell a large order or a large number of stocks all at once at market, and the price movement from the sale causes the price to slip, right? So you put in a more order for 320,000 shares, and we're trading at 200. By the time your sale is complete, we're trading at like 190, right? So by the time you've picked up enough buyers to fill your order, and so you have this $10 range, that's slippage. Has anyone that watches the stream found you in public? I don't think so. I live in a big city. I mean, it's OHLC are not the same between HA and candle. Open, high, low, and close. That's because they open at the midpoint. Knuckleballer. But open, high, low, and close are irrelevant metrics for anything that we're doing here. I guess you care about the low, but the low should be the same. As should the high. Actually, they're hard to get in smoothly regardless of your net worth. Not as bad as Swiss banks, though. Interesting. Well, I'll let you know, Cool Daddy. So appreciate it. Feeling good. Have our exit plan. We're out. Just waiting to enjoy the ride now. Yeah. But financial people wearing VWAP, that still weirds me out. Maybe he just doesn't even watch the stream. He's just really into trading and wearing hats. Yeah, high and low should be the same. What's your favorite smell, and why is it fine Italian black mold? It's not, but Citadel, Virtue, and Sus know of you? Or do they? I don't feel like I made that big of an impact on anything. The black mold situation is sort of under control. Maybe I'll put up a merch shop after I don't do the channel anymore. I'll have like someone handle it. And then we could like donate the proceeds or something to something worthwhile. You're welcome, Sir David P. I love those donations to. It's not about struggling MILFs, Pickle Morty. God damn it. See, and all you've done now, I hope you know this, is ensured that I just never give anyone anything. I'll die in a paper mache casket made of my own dollar bills. What do you expect the hedgies to do next week? Buy the stock. Stefan. You want me to adopt the most paper handed down? The exchange favors are entirely separate from the donation, I assure you. Is it true that JFresh has installed a chastity belt style device on his torso to prevent you from rubbing his belly? He's not. He gets belly rubs all the time. It's the thing with anything traded on an exchange. HD EVX. Be serious. It would be a paper mache casket of $100 bills. That's what I said. I would take all my money when I die, turn it into a paper mache casket, and reduce inflation. That will be my gift to the world, is I'll drop inflation by like 1 point if I'm rich enough. No, I don't want shredded. I want circulating money. I don't want shredded money from the treasury. Worthless. You also can't buy shredded money from the treasury, I'm pretty sure. Because you could then use that to make dollar bills, and the Secret Service would not be okay with that. Sir Rich's death will cause a mass treasure hunt. So you're saying apes can fight inflation by hodling dollars? I mean, technically, the less money in circulation, the less inflation, right? Maybe that's the plan all along, right? You want some tinfoil hat shit. Maybe the Fed is waiting to give us all the money so we can stop hyperinflation. Because you could never spend it at a rate fast enough to bump inflation, right? I like it. So I'm going to do a DD. How do we convince you that we're not imaginary lines on the screen and actual, real, really strange people watching you every day? Impossible. I've even seen videos and I just assume that they're manufactured. I don't have a child. VWAP's here. So that's correct. I don't need to leave any of that to anyone. See, that's just an assumption you guys make. One of many. Wild speculative DD. Jamie and Houston Wade are just super advanced AIs. I mean, yeah. Are you gonna be besties with Bezos post-moass? Have yacht races and stuff? No, probably not. Maybe he'll try to hit on his wife. You know, marrying up and all that. Is it possible Moonway intercepted your gaming chair and sold it on Facebook Marketplace to feed his family for another day? I'm not going to say it's impossible. Do you believe in simulation theory like Elon? No, he's a nut job. His ex-wife got married to a school teacher? Damn it. I guess I'll just have to marry Jeff then. Oh well. I'm terribly sorry about suggesting the chair. Mine arrived after 2 months, so I thought the same time frame would apply. I hope it arrives eventually. I hope it arrives before I move, because that's going to be complicated. Oh, something I wanted to tell you guys before the stream's over. Next Saturday, I'm moving the members only stream to Sunday. I just wanted to try to give everyone like a little heads up on that in advance because I have to do shit on Saturday. So we'll be having a Sunday members only stream followed by the weekly DD. Well, if moass doesn't happen, in which case there will be no fucking members. This will be the last one. One time change? No time change. I'll do it at here, let me do a poll right now before we close this out. Because I don't know people's like Sunday schedules, and I know people have gotten used to this. We could do it at These are going to be in Eastern Daylight. So just if you can weigh in on the poll before we close this out for today. And that way I know. Because I don't think we've ever done one on a Sunday before. What's illegal? That way you can have at least one full day off. Well, I have to do things this coming Saturday. Here's to our last Hot Tub stream together. It's been an absolute privilege playing with you all. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I just don't count chickens. I mean, yeah, if we haven't kicked off into forced liquidation by Friday, I'll still do the stream next Sunday. Thanks, guys. All right, let me see. So 50% of people want it at 12 o'clock, and 32% of people want it at 12:30. So 12:15. 12:15 is the is what it's looking like. Man, some of you really want it later in the day. Oh, I guess West Coast. All right, we'll just do 12:30. 12:30 seems to be like the fair middle ground for the whole audience. 12:30 next Sunday for the members only stream. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming in today and doing this, and I appreciate all of your support so much. It's really helped the channel get through all this, and it means a lot, especially hitting like 10,000 subscribers and everything. I couldn't have done it without you. So very much appreciated. Fuck you all. I'll see you Monday.